Welcome to the Diversity Connector podcast, where we explore the rich tapestry of human experiences. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and together as we dive into conversations that bridge cultures, challenge stereotypes, and celebrate the unique perspectives each of us brings to the table. Each episode is a journey through stories and insights from a kaleidoscope of voices, each sharing their colorful narrative. Whether you're at home, on the go, or just anywhere in between, you're now part of a community that values understanding, inclusivity, and the beauty of diversity. So plug in your headphones, get comfortable, and let's connect through the power of our shared stories. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Diversity Connector podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us.
My name is Irene Poku, and I'm based in London. I'm 51 years. And I am currently an authentic leadership coach and a diversity and inclusion champion, facilitator, and trainer. My background is I studied pharmaceutical science, so I worked with pharma companies as first a drug development scientist and then as a project manager. So my career for over 20 years spans, of course, various roles within pharma as in project management. Along the way, I met John and I got married, and I had 3 children with him, 1 boy and 2 girls. Everything was fine with our relationship and our children, and we juggled parenting with full-time jobs. Out of the blue, John was diagnosed with cancer, and unfortunately, he died in September 2017. At that point, my whole world came crashing down. I felt like my world was ending. And we had a very, very good relationship, and we worked so well as a partnership. We were best friends. So it really hit me. And I needed to take a whole year out of work just to get my mind in the right place, to look after my children and to ensure that they were all in a resourceful state. During that time, I needed every motivational speaker who was telling me that I was going to be okay, because I felt, I was in a very low place. And I read a lot. I'm an avid reader. I read a lot and I listened to various podcasts. And when it was time for me to get back to work after a year, I really was asking myself questions like, what's this world all about? I had lived according to society's expectation, get all the qualifications, get a job, get married, have children. I had ticked all the boxes. However, I felt that society's programming had failed me. And at that point in my life, I wasn't fulfilled. And I started to ask myself the question, who am I? Why am I here? What do I do? Who do I do it for? So then it led me to asking myself the question that if I had only 12 months to live, what would I change about my life? And the job was the first thing to go. I did not want to work full time anymore. I did not want to work for somebody. I did not want to be constricted in any way. I really wanted to be my own self, find what is my value, my belief system, interrogate my belief system, and then make adjustments to my life. And that led me to quit my job. And then I was asking myself the question, so what am I going to do? I wanted to help other people to really also look within themselves, find what their strengths are, and then come up with a way to live their lives, not according to what society expects of them, but what they expect of themselves. So then I trained to be a coach. So I work as an authentic leadership coach. And my main focus is on strengths, beliefs, values. It's only when you know what your core values are that you can align yourself with it and live a life that is fulfilling. It is through that that you know your why. So I work mainly with clients who want to find out what their core values are and align themselves with their core values. I also work with clients who want to interrogate their beliefs, identify what is the limiting beliefs and what are the um, empowering beliefs so they can align themselves with that. I'm really passionate about helping individuals to step into their strengths because it is through me finding out my core values, what my strengths are, what my values are, that I'm living a life that is very fulfilling to me. I live like I have 12 months to live. And when the 12 months is up, I press reset and try and I start again. This enables me to always think about what it is that I need to do in life in order to find fulfillment. Who do I need to spend time with? What do I need to give my attention to? And that enables me to live a life of fulfillment. Along the way, when George Floyd happened, I got very incensed, like most people. I attended lots of webinars, lots of training sessions, and I educated myself about how minorities are being felt about their jobs, their societies, and finding out most people felt that they had no choice. And at that point, I asked myself, I can't go around saying Black Lives Matter. And when it comes to, the crunch, if somebody were to ask me, what have you done? I would not have anything to say. Yes, I've looked after myself and my family, but it was time to go outside of that circles and impact my community. My first step was to join a school which had a very mixed sort of ethnicity where the teachers are not of the same color as the children. So I joined as a school governor so that I could be a voice in senior leadership speaking up for the minority. And I have continued to work like that. I attended lots more courses, and within companies that I work for, I've always been an advocate for minority. I positioned myself to coach minority leaders who want to be more inclusive or who want to gain their confidence so that they are not making excuses about what what is that they're not getting the promotion. Sometimes people would say, hey, because I'm a Black person, things are going against me, but it may be working against yourself with that narrative. So I work with people who really are able to find out what it is that is their strengths and then step into their greatness without focusing on the color of their skin. I also work with senior white leaders who want to become more inclusive and see their blind spots so that they can see, more get a better overview of what it is that they're doing, which they can do better, where they are thinking, which is leading to unconscious bias, so they can step into what it is that makes them, more inclusive. So I do that, and I always put myself forward for, talking engagements or panels discussions where I can bring my own experience to support people to also become, more inclusive. In addition, I also do a lot of working for, I do, I sit on the panel as a patient representative. I have done board roles where I am representing the patient and the public in spaces where the conversation is very technical, such that the ordinary man on the street may find it difficult. With my science background, I am able to come into a space where technical conversation regarding the medical professions are being discussed and be the voice of the patient and the public. I have sat on several advisory groups, and I have also sat on the steering committee with NHS. And my role in there is to speak for the marginalized, to speak for minority, to speak for the people whose voices are not heard in the room. And I use my technical experience to come in to support in this aspect to also help move the DI agenda forward.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Irene, and my sincere condolences for the passing of your husband. You know, we were talking a little bit earlier about how death has a way of waking you up to life.
Yeah,
I love what you've done with your story and how you've transmuted that experience into something really positive. And your energy and focus now is on advocating for those who don't have a voice, for those who are in marginalized environments and struggling with work, life balance, and inclusion.
yeah,
So, you are passionate about diversity and inclusion.
yeah.
How has it shaped your approach in coaching?
What the way it's shaped it is, coaching in itself means that you get into a space with no judgment. But by helping individuals, like I said, I help minorities who are lacking in confidence or who are through societal programs feel that they can't speak up. So that is my style of coaching, is to help individuals gain self-awareness, be aware of the limiting beliefs that they are imposing on themselves that keep them from progressing, and them blaming society for it. So mainly self-awareness, working with minorities, helping them to gain the confidence so that they could go out and focus more on what their strengths are, interrogate all their limiting beliefs so that they can walk out of the programs with the empowering beliefs about themselves as an individual. Who am I? Why am I here? What do I do? Who do I do it for? How does it make them feel? And that confidence alone enables individuals to bypass the in, the consciousness that they have about, oh, I'm black, so I can't be in this space. Once you fight that confidence issue and you are able to really sell yourself, I think individuals then begin to see you for who you are, rather than the labels that you are allowing to stop you from getting forward. Also, I work with senior leaders who have now become aware that they knew much less about the minority, the way they think, the way they've been brought up, the way that they see life is definitely not the same for everybody. So I allow them the space for them to find their blind spots, the space for them to really hone in on their unconscious biases, and then walk on a side by side with them whilst they work on it, because these are habits that have been acquired over years. Even once you become aware, you can't let go of it immediately, but it's through a process where individuals become aware of it and are dedicated to making a change. Then gradually we're helping them to acquire habits that empower them, habits that make them more inclusive, habits that make them more aware and picking up where their unconscious biases are and adjusting so that they grow an inclusive team.
Mm. So, in your role as a UN Women UK delegate to the United Nations, what are some of the key insights or experiences that have influenced your work in promoting authentic leadership and inclusivity?
I think the biggest awareness for me was how widows are treated in Africa, because that's my background. I attended all those seminars that had individuals, NGOs working for widows, and it's once again based on my life experience. It was an area that I was passionate about, and it was such a shock to realize that not only do you lose your husband, but you lose your home, you lose your property, you lose your well-being, and women are suffering in that respect. I think that was very, very sad for me to hear, knowing that nobody got in the way of me trying, wanting to transform myself, and due to financial situations or family issues, widows are facing really dire situations. And consequently, I put my energy, I've supported NGOs, I've linked up with those sort of NGOs that are helping widows. And I haven't been able to travel to Africa yet to help, that's in that sense. But that is also something that I'm
Yeah.
working on, where I can go and use my lived experience to help to build confidence, use my, my means, if whatever means that I have to support, because it broke my heart when I heard those sort of stories.
So, can you elaborate on the concept of holding up a mirror to your clients in coaching? How does this technique help to uncover their superpowers and self awareness?
So, without a coach, an individual just thinks about life based on their upbringing, their society, what they have seen, their lived experience, and they can't think outside of that. And by holding a mirror up to a coachee, what I mean is I'm asking questions that let them see things from a point of view that they have never contemplated, because it's never been on their radar. So I ask questions. I come to a coaching space from a space of no judgment, and I come with childlike curiosity. And by asking lots of questions, I enable individuals who have been thinking all along from a lateral view to see like a 360 view of how they think. And that is always a light bulb moment, because you cannot think further than what you've experienced or what you know, until somebody with a
Yes.
totally different experience, totally different way of thinking interrogates that thinking. So what I do is I disrupt the norm, and that usually causes an awakening, because until somebody has held you in a space where you feel, you know, that the person has you, because in outside of coaching space, when you're having a conversation and somebody tries to disrupt, you will walk away and feel that this person is trying to, undermine me or make me feel belittle me. But in a coaching space, you are guaranteed of psychological safety. You are guaranteed of
Yeah.
confidentiality. You know the coach is there for your growth, and your agenda is what the coach follows. The only difference is the coach comes with questions, with tools, with reflecting back what I'm hearing, which I do a lot. So what I hear, I reflect back to you, and that is even can even be the light bulb moment, because individuals sometimes are not aware of how negatively they talk about themselves. And in a coaching space
Oh,
where there's psychological safety, I, as the coach, will reflect back to my client, this is what I'm hearing. And it's not just what I'm hearing, the body language that I'm seeing as well. And that is powerful
mhm.
in itself. And that brings about the self awareness. And then I work with the coach based
Yeah.
on what the self awareness, what sort of change they want to see in the future.
I love that. So, what are some of the common challenges that you've observed in leaders when it comes to aligning their actions with their core values and character strengths? And how do you address these in your coaching?
So most leaders will be promoted to that space based on how good they are at a particular task. So in most cases, they become line managers, and they haven't really been
Yes.
prepared for line management. And the way they think, an example will be if somebody works to a very high standard, to let's say 99% every time, then they expect that of everybody in the team. But then
Yeah.
75% may be okay. If they work in a particular style, then they project that onto somebody. and that causes a lot of friction. That's why we've all heard people leave managers, they don't leave jobs. It is the manager that makes the job good for you.
Yeah.
And what I work with the leaders is to help them to gain that self-awareness. And when they've done the strengths test and they become aware of what their strengths are, then they also become aware that, these are my core values. They're not Gertrude's core values.
Yeah.
Everyone's core values are different. How do I get to know what Gertrude brings to the table in order that I may allow her to shine? And that is how they begin to build stronger relationships. They begin to listen more. And during one to ones, they make their line reports take ownership of the growth of the development plan, because then they are allowing them to bring their strengths to the fore, because they're not being told what to do. And that is the game changer, when leaders are allowing the direct reports to bring their strengths to the table, to feel comfortable that they can say at a table, during a meeting, that no, you are suggesting a particular process. I would do it differently, but we will get to the same outcome. And the leader now knows that, yes, this is our deliverable. We all want to get here, but then we may do it differently. And that also enables the direct reports to build trust with their leaders. So the leader, first of all, by becoming aware of their strengths, their core values, they then step into their greatness, and then they're more observant of other people. They compliment more, because now they are stopping, they are watching, they're looking at body language and words, and they're complimenting the people in their team.
So I know that you facilitate workshops to raise awareness, to raise self awareness, and to combat unconscious bias.
Mhm.
Can you give an example of an exercise or a discussion topic that you would use in these workshops?
It's listening to, I think you give individuals, you put them in a room, and and you keep quiet for 5 minutes and listen, and then it goes around, and then you repeat what you've heard. And because the listening is not so, at the first instance, you listen to respond rather than listen to
Yeah.
understand. When it comes to repeating what you've heard, in most cases, it's not as crystal clear, because the listening was not intact. And then you do it again after you become aware of that's unconscious bias, that you have your mind made up. And even when you are listening, it's cosmetic listening. It's really, you're not paying attention to what the
Ah,
person is actually telling you, until you become aware that you were not able to repeat what they said, because you weren't really paying attention, or you're not getting the point, because the individual who is listened to first will say, well, this was the crux of the matter, this was the feeling that I wanted to um, relate to you. And when you haven't been able to do
wow.
that, then you become aware that your listening was not that deep. And then it's giving listening techniques, going from different levels of listening, so that when they have to perform the exercise again, now they listen more attentively. And when you know that you listen more attentively, then you can really know the pain that the person is relaying to you, first of all. And then, secondly, the person who has relayed their story, when they feel listened to,
Sure.
feels more they can trust you.
It's interesting because it's more about listening to understand than listening to respond. A lot of us listen to respond. We're ready to come back with an answer without really taking in what's being said, right?
Yeah, so that is,
Hmm.
in the workplace, that happens a lot. Somebody saying, I'm struggling, I'm doing this, and they're not being heard. And they will be told that, yes, we sorted your problem out, but that they didn't really get to the crux. So what's causing this? It's only when you go in a layer
Yeah.
deeper, and then you do it. And the only reason why individuals feel reluctant to be their true self in the workplace is there's lack of trust.
How does cognitive diversity contribute to a more effective and inclusive workplace? And what strategies do you recommend for leaders to embrace this?
So it's still conversation, listening, understanding, because until you realize that we all come from different backgrounds, different lived experience, such that we see the same thing differently. I say, is the eyes you bring to the occasion. The two of us will see a particular film or listen to a podcast, and I will take from it something totally different from what you will take from it. And when you have all had that experience where you know that because of my upbringing, because of my beliefs and everything that makes me unique, how I would see a particular scenario will be very different from the way you'll see it. And therefore, do not project how you see it on me.
Yeah.
Give me the space so that I will tell you how I see it. And if
Yeah.
everybody in the room is given the space and the time to be able to say how they see a particular situation, then the collective decision would be the best decision, rather than
Yeah.
the lab manager
Yeah.
coming in and saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, and not allowing anybody to really express themselves. By the end, when you say any questions, everyone is thinking, well, your mind is made up, and consequently
Yeah.
you don't get the true self. But when you come in and you say, this is the scenario and I want to hear what everyone thinks, what are your views on this, how would you proceed with this, then you give everybody time, everyone feel that their views matter, because they're not being asked when it's 2 minutes to end of the meeting, how do you feel about it. Everybody knows
Mm.
that they have time and space. And the added benefit to that is when individuals know that when we go into this meeting, I will be given this time and space to air my views. They do the thinking before they come in. So they are prepared,
Yes.
they have braced themselves that in this meeting, everybody gets to say. They listen better because they know it will be their time to talk at some point. So that
Yeah.
brings about that inclusion, because everybody feels that their views matter, they feel seen, they feel heard.
So, what are some of the unique challenges and opportunities that you've encountered in executive coaching across diverse sectors like finance, higher education, and healthcare?
I think it's the learning. It's amazing how I come in as the coach to coach, with the coachee, and they are
Mm.
from a finance background. I'm from a farmer background. We start off with where I know nothing about the job they do. In 6 months' time, I have a deep awareness of what happens in a particular industry where I would not have had that experience because I haven't, probably from books or elsewhere. But that's deep relationship that we form. I am a transformational coach, so I allow the individuals to come in with their whole self. It's not just a professional self. I would always invite the personal and the professional self. And I
Mhm.
I also bring my vulnerability to the room to help build that trust. And in that transformation coaching, it is amazing, the learning, not just for the coachee, but for myself as well.
How does your approach to the concept of success in your coaching, especially for clients seeking to realign with their core values and character strengths, how do you approach that through your coaching?
In most cases, the leaders would have done some sort of personality assessment or be in part of a talent development program. So they come already with knowing that, oh, we've done this assessment, I've done this thing, I think it's a bit true, but I'm not too sure. So then we look at it. So when we're doing the alignment work, it's mainly you've done the test, or we go through career highlights in order to pick up the values that or the strengths through that. So there are various ways where I work with my clients, either through career highlights, through assessment. When they've done the different assessment report, they bring it, and then we go through it, and then they think, oh, well, this is the area I want to work, or I want to align more with this, then I think I'm okay here. So it's always a process of finding out, how do you want to align? Sometimes you may assess yourself as a 3/10 on a particular area, but you think, well, yeah, but that's not
Yes.
what I want to work on now. I'm a 7/10 here, but I want to get to an 8/10 here. And then we work through, so how may
Yeah.
you make the changes so that you move from this point to that point? But wherever you are in your alignment with your core values, you need to be comfortable with it. So you're not working, if the top
Yeah.
five is usually what we work on, you're not working with all top five at the same time, at the same momentum. There are times where you think,
Mhm.
well, I think I'm good here. This is where I want to work. And then we focus our energy using SMART goals and stuff like that to move the client gradually to where they want to be.
Finally, for those aspiring to leadership roles or seeking to improve their leadership skills, what advice would you give them about discovering and nurturing their unique leadership style?
I am a core values coach, and everybody that I coach, we will be there. So I think it's knowing who you are in the first place, your authentic self. That is, you can't know anybody. I think Stephen Bartlett quote says, you can read
Mhm.
as many books as you like. If you can't read yourself, you can't move forward. So the
So
first thing
true.
is knowing who you are, doing the core values, and there are several tests that we can use to actually look at who am I, what do I really want, what are my strengths, and when we know it, then we talk about, okay, how do you align to these values? And that's for aspiring leaders. Once the more you're aligning, the more you're living a life that's fulfilled, and it
Mhm.
shows through your body language and everything. Wherever you are, if you're doing something that you really love doing, everyone notices. You do it with passion.
Yes.
And that is what
Mm.
puts you in line for true leadership, because you don't have to use, lots of words. Your actions show that, yes, this person is a potential leader because of what we've seen of them. And it's only when you're doing something that you really love that you shine.
So let's finish off with what is in store for you in the future. I loved how you said that you live like you had 24
12 months.
hours to live. Yes. What is in the horizon for you? What is your passion? Where do you see yourself a year from now?
A year from now, I apart from, I'm still raising teenagers, so that is my main role. I love I spend a lot of time with my children because I'm all about memories. I travel a lot. I love traveling, so I do a lot of traveling so that I get to meet people and I get to experience new things. So that is very much in the next 12 months, doing lots of traveling, meeting new people, and sending, getting my message to more people. I think through colleagues of mine, we are trying to organize more workshops so that we can put it out there to help people, more speaking engagements, just so I can not, be part of people who want to make a change, who are committed, just to support them through that process. So in the next year, I think more being in teams, getting my words, getting the word across about helping people to really step into their greatness. That is what I'm about. Stop existing and start living sort of person. So that is the message that I want to um, put out there at the same time for my own self. More self development, more exposure, meeting new people. I love to meet new people. I love to travel. I love to dance. And I have no intention of stopping there.
Irene, thank you so much for coming online today and gracing us with your presence and sharing your story. I've been deeply moved by how you're living your life and how you're empowering others to live their life to the full, whether you are self employed or working in a corporate position. You're spending 8 hours of the day at work. It had better be something that you love and truly enjoy.
Exactly.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Diversity Connector is bringing us some interesting stories from people from all walks of life. Tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Irene, thanks again for the interview. Bye for
Thank
now,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant global conversation. My name is Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you heard today is a thread in the rich fabric of our shared humanity. As you step into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by simply looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep learning, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast, signing off. Stay curious, stay open, and stay connected.